So, Rashana, this is Ashanti Rashana. She is the co-host. Rashana is a realtor and real estate investor in Chicago. And Ashanti is a realtor, I believe, right?
Yes.
And serial entrepreneur out of Houston, Texas. So what would you like us to focus the interview on? Because we how it works is we talk about your background, we talk about what kind of brought you to entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. We talk about any specific like deals that you've done that have been successful. And we can also talk about what I was thinking is more so just like what brought you to entrepreneurship and kind of talking about just business ownership and those kind of things, like the startup process, all that.
Yeah, I think that right now my primary focus is kind of where we started with me venturing into the real estate world and helping young homeowners or aspiring homeowners get their first home, and how that process looks from start to finish, and the way using my platform to, give knowledge to people who otherwise don't go out and seek it themselves, or just don't it all together. So I think we can start there, and if it manifests into something else, I could go into why entrepreneurship is something that I want to do in the first place.
Okay. What's your Instagram handle? Just so I can
It is Ashanti Lafayette, Ashanti Lafayette, Lafayette.
Cool. LAFA. There we go. Alrighty. Let's do it.
Great.
So this is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast, episode 148. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, here with Miss Rashana Scott out of Chicago. How are you doing, Rashana?
I'm good. How are you?
Blessed. Living the dream.
I know. We finally got some good weather here that's like been here for a couple days. So I'm like, I think we are officially summertime over here. So
that's cool. In California, we don't really get bad weather.
Yeah, I know. So you don't have to
we've been kind of chilling for a while. But I mean, I was thinking about this today. I was like, man, like I wish I didn't live in California because the cost of living is so reasonable other places. So it's like you can do so much.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients. I actually did a property walkthrough this morning for an investor in California, actually, for a multi-unit building here. So, because again, the cost of living, of course, is much cheaper here. So
I like to believe I started that trend.
You did.
Because I was talking to somebody else and he was like, yeah, I got these investors from California, these investors from New York, and they're buying homes in Michigan and Ohio.
You didn't. Like, I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
In my world, I did.
Okay. I'm gonna let you believe that. Cool. So we have a very special guest here with us today, Miss Ashanti, all the way from the H.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you guys today?
Good. Thanks so much for being here. So we are going to jump right into the interview. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do, but then also what got you there, or, what kind of life changes or pretty much what influenced you to be who you are today and do what you're doing today.
Okay, well, I'll jump right in. I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama, and I came to Houston for college, majored in finance at Texas Southern University. And right from there, I jumped into something really odd, which is marine insurance underwriting. A lot of people are like, what is that? What are you do. I mean, it was it's kind of a unique field, but it afforded me an opportunity to be gainfully employed right out of college. So I went with it, and I actually have been doing that for quite some time. And in the insurance world, a lot of people don't know that it's very dynamic in terms of like underwriting and some of the various channels that you can go into. So I learned a lot about Houston, oil and gas, properties, and it took me down a road of wanting to explore real estate. And I am a mom of 3 beautiful little children, and I just actually had my 3rd child in March 15th, the day the pandemic started. And it really made me want to kind of leap out on faith 100% and explore real estate because, so many people saw their foundation shaken with this pandemic and their job security. And a lot of people just didn't know what they wanted to do. And I had already been playing with the idea of, hey, let's just ditch corporate America and do your own thing. And that really just kind of gave me that last little push I needed. Like, actually, I don't think I want to go back to corporate. I think I want to do this thing full time, really go hard. And I mean, I'm happy to say that even through the course of this pandemic, I just became a licensed realtor in February, and I'm already closing on my first deal. And a lot of people don't even deal their first year, and they hop right out. So I'm going to say that my kids have I guess prompted this sense of urgency in terms of establishing some security, some generational wealth, and also having the flexibility to work hard but also be there for them and be present while they're growing up.
Yeah.
Nice,
cool.
Nice. So you started a business in the middle of a pandemic.
I did.
Nice.
I think that it's kids can definitely give you that sense of urgency, where I think when you don't have kids, it's like, oh, I'll get to when I get to. When you do, it's like you got to be on it at all times. So I definitely can relate. One of the questions we like to ask people is, what was life like growing up? So can you talk to us a little bit about life in Mobile, Alabama? Mobile.
I can. Okay, so just in the spirit of everything that's going on with the country right now, Alabama, it's no secret that there was a lot of segregation there, a lot of things that were going on in the other parts of the world that were moving a little faster, were moving slowly in Alabama. But I'm happy to say that my dad and his family actually were real estate developers in Alabama, and the neighborhood that I grew up in was an all-Black affluent neighborhood that they had developed themselves, with the chief of police and the engineers and the lawyers and doctors in the community. And it was actually the people who I grew up in the neighborhood with, I'm still friends with them today. We created a family, and that is what I strive to find in Houston, and to expose these younger couples that are gonna have kids, who want their kids to kind of grow up looking at people who look like them and feel welcome. So that was one thing that's a lot different from being here in Houston, because here diversity is just everywhere. There's no getting around it, and you feel comfortable in a lot of spaces. In Alabama, it wasn't exactly like that. So here I want to kind of find those areas where there are affluent Black people that look like me, that have kids that look like my kids, and we move forth on a relationship for the rest of our lives. It's not saying that I don't want to have relationships or build networks in other areas, but that's just something that I'm really passionate about.
That's dope.
Nice. So tell us about like starting a business in the middle of a pandemic. Like, what is that like? Because a lot of people, did make the transition, but for a lot of people it was by force, right? A lot of people were laid off, a lot of people were furloughed, but you did make the choice. You made a conscious decision to say, you know what, I don't want to go back. So were you laid off or furloughed, or did you like put in your 2 weeks and you were like, no, I'm going full force ahead in this?
Well, so I have not been furloughed or laid off. I actually made a conscious decision to leave during maternity leave. So I took my leave and, just decided, hey, I'm not going to go back. And the way it looks right now is exactly how you'll see those memes of moms with like one kid hanging off the arm and another one, kind of climbing on the refrigerator. That is how it looks. But there is some hope in the midst of that chaos, because I can figure out the things that are challenging and find reasonable solutions for my own situation. And that will help me build the platform that I'm ultimately trying to build out, which is helping other people kind of understand the financial freedom that comes with not only home ownership, but owning real estate in general, and how people can also have established lives through that.
So I want to know, you started in February.
See, this is no secret.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
It's happening now. I'm a breastfeeding mom, so when duty calls, it doesn't kill me.
Right. You need to take a break, or?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. So my question was, you got your license in February. You got your first deal in June. How were you able to make it happen so fast?
So realistically, I feel like everyone has to have these buckets in order to, get their influence out. And my first bucket was a girl that I worked with at my job that I quit. She didn't have any animosity about me quitting the job and kind of leaving them out. She immediately referred her brother to me. She's like, hey, look, this girl is smart. She knows her stuff. She maybe to real estate, but I've seen her do this job so well that I know she'll be able to help you with whatever you need to do. And realistically, creating the platform that I want, where people know what my knowledge is and my expertise, those are the people that I want to bring in. I want to bring in people who understand that, I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. I want you to know what I know, and I want you to know that I'm going to fight for you, whether you're on one side of a transaction or another, and that I'm going to give you the most valuable information that I can have for you. I think that realistically, being the person that I am in my everyday life, even at that job, helped me to close my first deal as an entrepreneur and an individual agent, because they were able to see my work ethic in a 9-to-5. So they know that if I'm going to put this effort into a 9-to-5, then I'm also going to put that effort into my own business.
Yeah, that's good. I think, like you said, there are so many common sayings and memes, that we see every day on social media. And one that I just saw the other day that I hear and think about constantly is, how you do, one thing is how you do everything, right? And so I know, and Charles talks about that a lot too, like leveraging the skills that you have at your 9-to-5, the skills, the attitude, the discipline, the work ethic, and applying that to your own business, because it's going to be that much work, if not more, but of course the reward, the outcome is, having the satisfaction of, doing it for yourself, right? Doing it for your own business, and getting to the finish line, whatever that looks like. Yeah. Now you mentioned that.
Hold on, before we leave that, I was gonna say it's interesting because a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs, they might like underperform on the job, but they're like, when I get my own business, that's when I'm gonna turn it up. And it usually doesn't work like that. Usually, like, you got to be a killer at the job and a killer as an entrepreneur. So if you're listening, take that gem from what she did that actually worked successfully.
Yeah. Now you mentioned being a serial entrepreneur. What are some of your other ventures? What do those look like?
Well, in 2016, I started a hair extension company. And the idea behind creating the extension company was to help women who've lost their hair while undergoing chemotherapy, because I've lost several relatives to breast cancer. And so it was a situation that was near and dear to my heart. And I started originally with just kind of like making wigs or finding hair to make wigs for my aunt and my cousin. And then it turned into, oh, that looks nice. You know, where'd you get that from? And so, you know, I turned it into a business. And, you know, for anybody who's out there listening, you can have a passion for something, and if you haven't really developed the business model for it, it can easily turn into I don't even know what to call it. It can turn into something that costs you more time and doesn't make you any money. So, you know, I think that is what happened with my first venture. I wanted to do something that was giving and pleasing to the people because it was a situation that was dear to my heart, but I shouldn't have made it a for-profit business because I wasn't looking for a profit. But if you have a for-profit business, you can't expect the same grants that nonprofits get or donations because you haven't set it up in that way. So that was a lesson for me in entrepreneurship. If I wanted a nonprofit business, I should have created a nonprofit business. And, you know, so right now I think my real estate venture is also kind of helping me to understand entrepreneurship from a different side of things. And while I still do have that company active, I have used the proceeds that I'm going to make in my real estate business to try to fuel that into the for-profit business that it's kind of manifested into, because it started as one thing and turned into something totally different.
I think it's cool that you said that you're a serial entrepreneur, because I feel like a lot of us are serial entrepreneurs. And I feel like in a lot of ways, you can only really approach entrepreneurship in that way, kind of like, especially if you're coming from like a situation where maybe you're not getting like all the funding that you might want. Like you might have to throw a bunch of ideas out there, find out what sticks, and then start using the successful venture to invest in the venture that might be lagging. I do that. Like, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now is funded by something that has nothing to do with what I started with. Like I'm over here rehabbing properties with option community money. Like, but if I was just sitting there waiting on rental income to renovate my properties, I might not have been able to get to where I need to get to, or the company would be going broke. So I'm a very big proponent of doing everything and putting stuff out there and finding out what sticks and then double down on what sticks. So have you always been an entrepreneur? Like, did you have younger businesses? 'Cause I know you jumped right into the most polished business, but a lot of us didn't have the most polished business. At one point in time, I was selling CDs on campus and doing whatever, selling t-shirts. I was doing it all.
Well, I think that I will say that I've always had an entrepreneurial mind. I was actually the chief of staff of the Entrepreneurship Club at TSU. I was the president of the Marketing Association. Like, I think that it's something that's always been in my blood, but I never really thought about a product or service that I could offer that I really wanted to present into the world. So I am a little in my head, even with my social media platform. I was reaching out to one of my mentors just on yesterday about how I always want to release the most polished version of myself. And sometimes that doesn't come off authentic and you don't get the following that you want because you're always trying to present your best you. I'll give this example, even right now with like me trying to get through this interview, breastfeeding a kid. That is the authentic version of my real life. Yep. And I hope that transcends to someone who may be listening and think, hey, you know, I don't want to do it because, you know, I'm not ready, or it's not working for me right now, or I have too much on my plate. Like, you're going to always have a lot on your plate. You're going to always have things unexpected that come up. But releasing the authentic version of you, which is what I'm challenging myself on a daily basis to do, is helping grow my business, my brand. I am my brand. I walk around every day showing people that, okay, this is what it takes. And it might not look the way your situation looks, but this is what it's going to take for my situation to unfold. And I think that that's kind of the most important thing that stopped me years ago from just hopping into entrepreneurship, because I wanted it to be a certain way. I want to make sure my LLC is tight and, let me make sure that this is right and that's right. And sometimes that's just not reality. Sometimes, of course, getting your ducks in a row from a business standpoint is important, but having perfection, the perfect website, the perfect everything, it's not required for you to have success. Sometimes those things come later, and of course it's going to evolve.
I laugh because that is, I'm sure you're preaching like music to Charles' ears. Like, he is always about that. It's not about perfection. It is about just getting started. And I think, there's definitely a lot of keys there, a lot of gems, because like you said, showing your authentic self is so much better than trying to present your best self, because your authentic self is your best self, right? Like, who said it isn't, right? Because there's so many people that are going to be able to relate. And that's where your following comes from. That's where your tribe comes from. That's where your customers and your clients come from. They see, you're a real person, just like them, like, you're not out here. Like, it's so funny. Charles and I, we were talking about somebody one day, and I said something, and he's like, oh, I stopped following that person because their life was too perfect. And I thought that was so funny, because it was the same thing. Like, it was the same exact thing. And it's not, I think somewhere along the lines of, this whole 2020 world of social media, we thought that we had to paint a picture of everything being perfect in order for us to do business or get clients. And that's not reality, it's not at all. So I think, showing the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the mistakes, like, that's what, people definitely will connect with.
You just said everything I want to say.
So I want to ask about, so obviously life now, as a mompreneur, right? And balance, right? Or is that a real word? Because so many people, balancing motherhood, being a new mother, or what all that looks like in starting a business. And, is it something that there's a lot of people that feel like they should wait, right? Like, because the timing isn't right, and that whole thing. So I want to, dive into that, especially for the moms who are listening, who feel like, it's never the right time because they don't have the time.
Well, I have, my oldest child is 9, and of course my youngest is 3 months. If I knew what I knew today, 9 years ago, I'd probably be, miles ahead in terms of entrepreneurship. Because when you're a new mom, especially, you're forced with the task of proving to everybody that you can do it, and I can do this, and I can still go to school, be this and work and be a great mom. And you don't want to ask for help or find different avenues that aren't as traditional, because you don't want to seem like a failure from the outside world. And I think right now, it's important to go back to that old saying, like, it takes a village. Seriously, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone and to get out of your ego and your pride and ask people for help. Ask people, hey, can you come over and watch the kid for an hour, while I work on my dream, or invest in myself? Can you come do a load of clothes for me while I'm doing whatever it needs to get done? Because it is hard work. Keeping a household afloat is a full-time job. So if you also have a job and you want to be an entrepreneur, you have 3 jobs, 3 full-time jobs. And in order to make those things work, you have to have help. And, you know, I am married. My husband's here with me. So, you know, I'm a step above some people who are single moms. And, you know, that presents a whole nother challenge. So you have to ask the people around you, the people who love you. People would be surprised how much people just want them to, they want to feel needed and want to feel helpful when they don't know what to do. And I have been there before. I've been the person who never wanted to ask for help, and it's okay. Everybody needs help. The same way that an entrepreneur will walk into a bank to ask for a business loan is the same help that you'll need as a person trying to fuel your business and also fuel your life and your children.
Yeah. It's so funny because parents always make it seem like, yeah, you have those kids, you're on your own. And then you have a kid and they're like, so when I get to see the baby? I bought this for the baby.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's good too that you definitely brought that up, because for whatever reason, I think especially like within our communities, we don't want to ask for help. You know, we feel like we're so independent and we're like, oh, I can do it on my own. I don't need help or anything like that. And it sounds so simple, but you're like, look, it's just as simple as, like you said, asking for help, because people don't know that you need help unless you ask for it.
And also, people want to see that you're giving it your all to. Like, you don't want to be in a situation where you're just out here just chilling, going to the club, doing whatever you got to do. And then you're like putting your actual responsibilities on people who were supposed to be the helpers, not the doers. So I feel like that also is important. And it's not just a parent principle. It's also like a business principle. People help those. If you're looking for a mentor is going to help somebody who's already hustling. A mentor is not going to help somebody who's just like sitting there hoping that you give them all the answers and do all the work and make all the connections for them. But if they see you out there doing it with or without their help, that's when they're going to come in and kind of drop some gems on you and help push you along.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, going back to the mentor thing, like I think a mentor is there to push you and they won't pull you, right? So they aren't going to say, hey, come on, let's get up, let's go do this, let's, you know, like, no, they're going to see, what are you currently working on? Okay, let me help push you towards what you're already doing. Let me help, you know, get behind the train and give you some momentum, right? And then also, like you said, Charles, like people help those who help themselves, right? And we can't have that victim mentality of, oh, why me, why me, why me, you know, except that whatever happened to you, first of all, taking the responsibility that your life, you know, everything that's going on in your life is 100% of, you know, the decisions that you've made, but then also from there, like getting up and like taking accountability for where things are and what you want to do and where you want to be. And then, like you said, reaching out to your tribe around you. So I think that's so good. We don't talk about that enough, how important that really is. So I'm glad you brought that up.
So back to your deal, can you talk to us about that project? Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Back to what my passion, I think, moving into this real estate journey has been and is going to be, which is home ownership opportunities for people who otherwise would not have known that, hey, one, I can do this, and two, that there are programs out here available to me to help with what I'm doing. This nice couple, man and woman, they both are under 30, and they are purchasing their first home. And just a little background, they did not know that they'd be able to buy a home just from, you know, preliminary conversations and, you know, just the thoughts of down payment and do I need 20% and, you know, those various things. They didn't know that, you know, you could at times walk to a closing table with $0 out of your pocket if you have the right programs in place. So I spent a lot of time getting them connected with the right lenders and getting them into a position to where they understood what all of their options were, into the area that they could be in, the price point they wanted to be in. And I didn't want to just sell them. I actually appreciate the wife telling me, I'm so glad you're not just so focused on making a deal that you're just going to sell us or put us into anything. I took my time with them. I made sure that, when we walked into a house, if there was something hiding behind the seller's disclosure or hiding behind the walls, that they knew about it. If there were things that they didn't understand about, like what's a title, what's this, what's that, like I took the time to sit with them and talk through everything with them, so that on the other side of this transaction, they're more knowledgeable in general for their families, for their friends. And that's important to me. Don't just go into a transaction and, kind of with blinders on. You need to know what it is you're getting yourself into, how taxes have manifested in these various areas over the years, what property values look like, what they're forecasted to look like. Of course, we can't predict the future, but having as much information as possible so that you understand the situation on the other side of the transaction is, it's completely important to me, because I feel like buying my first home, I didn't know a lot of things, and I was like reaching and grabbing from every direction. Oh, let me call my dad, let me call my friend, let me call whoever. And realistically, my agent should have been the end all be all for me in terms of gathering all of that knowledge and all of the things that your agent doesn't know, building a good referral network so that you can refer out to the experts the things you don't know. It's important to me. So, I've spent a lot of time during this pandemic watching other people kind of and how they're messaging to their audiences to figure out who I want to connect with as my referral tribe. Because you're about information like I am, then, great, we might work well together. But if you're just like, kind of shiesty sales, use salesman kind of vibes, it's not going to work with me, because that's not the type of, that's not the type of experience I want my clients to have.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good to point out that educating is selling. So when you are educating your clients, educating your future buyers, sellers, or whatever, you don't even have to sell, right? Because what you're doing at that point is that you're giving free game and you're serving others, regardless of if they work with you or not. The education should still be out there because people need it. Right. So it's not even a matter of, only you got to work with me in order for you to know that, to know this about a house, or to know, to make sure that you ask this question or that question. Like, if you put the information out there, then like you said, your tribe or your clients, they will come. You don't even have to sell. So definitely, like you said, just positioning yourself as a resource in your community, because that's the other thing too. Knowing that your community needs the information, right? And you being a go-to resource for them, for the questions that they have about, the home buying or the home selling process.
So much of your strategy kind of sounds, and I don't know if Rashana recognizes this, but it seems like a lot of what she does, where she's working with younger buyers and she's educating them on different ways they can get down payment assistance and different programs that are going to help them get into a deal, or different strategies that are going to allow them to get a deal and house hack it or whatever. And so I feel like that's so dope, because you guys are both African-American women and you're millennials and you're working with millennials. And it seems like the people that you're working with, you kind of see yourself in them. So you want to help them. You want to give them what you didn't have. And so it's not so much like, yeah, you're going to make money, but it's kind of like what I do too. It's like, I do it because I see people that might be struggling financially. And if I have some information that can help you, I feel like I've helped myself by helping you. And I made some money in the process. And so I feel like that's so key. One of the things that you mentioned earlier was just about the community that you were raised in, and how most people wouldn't even know there's a thriving African-American community in Alabama. Whenever we think of Alabama, we just think, oh, it's racist. And this is just my personality, but I feel like sometimes when people don't like you, it actually causes you to become so much better and realize what you can do for yourself. And so that's been my mantra for the longest. Like, stop trying to get them to like you and just start building, start improving, create something for yourself. So when you said that, it was dope, because we all know Black Wall Street. We all know all these different areas, but like in almost every city, there's a thriving African-American community. I know Chicago has one, Los Angeles has one. Like, it just happened. And I think that's a part of the reason why they had to kind of end segregation, because they're like, they went in too hard. They're making us look crazy over here. But what else are we talking about next, Rashana? I think we could ask the last few questions.
I didn't know. Did you have any other input, anything that you wanted to touch on, Ashanti, about those topics?
I mean, just kind of to wrap it all together, I still, to this day, and I'll be transparent about it, I struggle with the way that I want to present myself to the world. You know, I am always like, you should see my text message threads with my friends. Like, does this Canva post look right? Or does this look right? No, I was the door, please cut this part out.
No, we will. It's okay.
Donald, get it.
We have an editor. It's all good.
Great. Sorry. No, but
you want to start over?
Sure. So just to wrap things up, I still struggle a lot with the way I want to display myself to the world, and I think that, you know, it hinders me in a way, because people don't get to, you know, see me go live all the time. And, you know, I could get out a lot of information that some people won't read. They'll rather listen to it if I was to go live. But I think that's all just stemming from, you know, insecurities about how you present yourself to the world and who's going to be receptive of that and who's going to like you. Like you said, I think that getting out of your own head is 90% of the battle. To know that what you have to offer is enough is what I'm still coaching myself on every day. Like, giving myself that affirmation, like, hey, girl, you know what you're talking about. Go out there, you know, go forth in the world and be you. And it's hard. It's easier said than done, for sure. Like, you know, just stepping on here with you, two seemingly strangers, because, you know, as you guys have said, you typically choose your own guests. And this is a different thing that you guys were doing, stepping out of your comfort zone. And, you know, just me hopping on and wanting to feel like I'm being my natural self and being organic with you guys was something that I really had to say, okay, are you gonna do it, girl? You know, like, pep myself up into it. And that is what I feel like is sitting dormant in a lot of people who won't just take the leap of faith into entrepreneurship. Like, that whole confidence boost and knowing that you have what it takes to build that success. I wish that there were more people who just, you know, just take that leap, take the jump, and wherever you land, you know, go with it and be you and know that that's enough.
I love it.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. And I think, you know, like you also mentioned, like having, you know, a text message thread with your friends to say, hey, does this post look right or whatnot? I definitely have that too. So I think it's also important to point out accountability in entrepreneurship is so important. It's key, you know, to have a support system, a support group, an accountability group, because, you know, you're no longer going into the office, you know, and talking about, hey, what are we working on today? It's like, you, every day you get up, you are your office, you are your own coworker, you are your own, you know, your own boss, you are everything, right? And so you have to be everything in your business all at once, especially from the beginning, right? And so having that support system, that support group, that accountability tribe, that is huge when it comes to, like you said, building, because it's a matter of, like you said, trying to figure out, should I put this out or should I not? But then also too, I would take Charles' method too of just go with it, put it out there anyway. You know, because regardless, like the right people who aren't supposed to be there, you know, they're gonna show up for you.
You
as long
you
as
make
you
me
keep
sound
showing
so
up for
reckless.
yourself.
You make me sound so reckless.
You are. You are. Have you seen your Twitter feed?
Oh man. Aside from that, I don't have one of those like chat threads where I ask people's opinions, because sometimes
no, because you don't care. Charles don't care about nobody else's
I don't.
opinion but his own.
I don't.
And maybe, you know, yeah, and you're a unique type of entrepreneur, Charles, I would say. Because I was going to say, well, maybe it's a female thing, but no, actually, I've talked to a lot of guys who, you know, they, and maybe not necessarily like what post should I post, not like that specific, but just different ideas in business, right? Or even like in real estate. What are your thoughts on this deal, right? You know, as far as running numbers and things like that. Having folks that can help you fact check and ask you questions that you didn't even think about, you know, there's definitely value in that.
Well, I'm actually starting to become more organized now that I have my own designated space. I'm spacing stuff out and thinking through a lot of different things. So less reckless now.
Cool.
These are our last few questions. The first question is, who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Okay. Oh, who is someone I look up to? Well, this is going to sound so strange, but in the shower this morning, I thought, or I guess I was thinking about like a potential question, and this was one of them. And I said to myself, like, you know, I think I'm more Tyler Perry than Oprah Winfrey. And the reason I said that is because, you know, both of them are successful in two different ways. And the reason I'll say that I look up to Tyler Perry is because he has stepped into a lane that I aspire to channel for myself. And it kind of ties into all of the different things that we've been talking about. Being your authentic self, and who likes it, and who doesn't. He doesn't change the game for anybody. He goes into every situation being who he was put on this earth to be, an unapologetically Black man. And he, you know, he puts the people around him that look like him in positions to win. And I just have to have the utmost respect for that. And he doesn't really care what we think about it. None of us. He doesn't care if stuff is good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, I mean, he dressed up as a woman for years.
Yes.
You know, and became famous off of it. But, you know, through all of what the naysayers had to say about it, like you said, he didn't care.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, he's not the person who I just normally pull off of a shelf as somebody I'm inspired by, but thinking about the person that I'm walking into, the person that I aspire to be, he is that. He is that because he doesn't apologize for being himself. He is himself, and he's attracted the people who, you know, like that and don't. So, I mean, those are goals.
Nice. Okay, cool. So next question. What is your favorite real estate or business book?
Oh, The Go-Giver. The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. There's another author. Don't make me. I think his name is John. Don't make me tell what his name is. But The Go-Giver, which ultimately the point that I took away from that book was that I have to be able to receive what the universe has put out there for me. And I can't always be the strong Black woman who, you know, oh, no, I got it. No, if there are people out there put in your life that can help you and be resources, be receptive to it. Don't always take the approach like, I got it, I can do it. That's always been me, just throughout my life, I've always been the type of person that's like, oh, I don't need that handout, or I don't need this. And realistically, that's not what that is. That's the universe giving you what you're putting out. If you're a giver, also be a receiver.
I like it. That's so key. For the longest time, I was that kind of person, like rejecting what people were trying to give me. And now I think as things have kind of manifested for me, I feel even more able to take or to receive, knowing how much I give. So that's cool. What sets apart successful business people from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Being able to fail gracefully. There is an art to failure because you cannot avoid it. You're going to fail at things. I gave you guys a little bit of, a failure of mine in my hair business and entrepreneurship, diving into it the first time in 2016, but I've not given up. Like, I won't leave it dormant. I'm going to continue to, however it looks, press forward in any way I can. And that's the art for me. I think that, if you become okay with failing, however that looks, and you can still hold your head up and know, hey, I'm still great. I'm still doing what it is that I need to do. And ultimately, these goals will manifest into what I originally set out for them to do. It just didn't look that way tomorrow like I had originally planned, or, in a year span. Maybe it's going to take 5, maybe it's going to take 10. Like, just don't ever give up and be okay with the failures that come along with success.
So I don't meet too many people who have a degree in finance. I have a degree in finance. I want to know what pushed you to go that route.
Oh, I am analytical as they come. I do not like things that change. I like to know that things are black and white. I don't really go into, and it's so funny because as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of learn how to live in the gray area at times. Mm-hmm. But throughout my whole life, I was great at math and great at numbers and great at, even in my high school, I think I used to manage the high school basketball player statistics. And those are the things that, motivated me. I was motivated by understanding these numbers and being able to derive, different ideas from what was there and predict what could happen in the future based on those numbers. And I have always liked to be able to control something, a certain way. And I think that with people who have, finance and accounting degrees, there are rules. There are rules. They're explicit rules. These rules rarely change. And if you have a formula from A to Z, it's going to work out that same way every single time. And becoming an entrepreneur after having that kind of strict mindset is really hard. Most creatives make better entrepreneurs than people who are very analytical and want data to run and flow a certain way. But I think there's a space for, both. You kind of need creatives around you if you're a person like me. Or it looks like you've kind of created the creator in yourself. Right. So I think that it's definitely space for both versions of that. And I'm now kind of wanting to step out into more of my creative side because I think I have those numbers and that and analytics part down.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Cool. So last question is, what does success mean to you?
Success means freedom, and not just financial freedom, but freedom of the time that I have on this earth, the way that I spend that time, and the people that I pour into and come in contact with. I feel like meeting people and knowing that their visions and goals and dreams are aligned with mine make venturing into entrepreneurship worth it. Because those are the people that I want to be surrounded by 24/7. I don't want to, go into a job that I hate and I don't like my bosses and I don't like the C-suite. I don't want that to be my version of success because there's tons of people that are successful in that lane. I want to be surrounded by the people that share the same visions and goals as I do. And that to me is the ultimate version of my success.
Love it,
Awesome.
love it, love it. Cool. Well, where can people find you, connect with you, support what you have going on?
Okay, well, I am Ashanti, Ashanti Lafayette, Lafayette on all platforms. Ashanti Lafayette Real Estate Professional on Facebook, and Ashanti Lafayette everywhere else.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We definitely appreciated this interview, talking about being a mompreneur, being a new business owner, starting a business in the middle of a pandemic. And, you know, I definitely took away some gems. And I think, you know, one of the other things that you pointed out was like the importance of showing up as your best self in the workplace first, before, you know, going out and starting a business and doing it on your own. And then also, you know, with the other side of that is what we talked about as far as showing up seemingly as quote unquote your best self online, when really your authentic self is also your best self. So I definitely appreciate the gems that you shared. Charles, do you got anything else?
No final words. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you, Rashana, for making time in your busy real estate day on a Sunday. You guys always leave us a rating and review. We like 5-star reviews. They help us rise up in the ranks. This has been episode 148. Charles Oglesby with Rashana Scott signing off. Cool. Stop recording. Where's that button? I think we're good to go.